Well, of course, it's not just about being here in Manchester, it's about being across the north. Nick Martins are now headed over to Liverpool. Nick.
Yes, Stephen, I've come 40 miles to the west of where you are to visit a club here, Sefton Park Cricket Club, because it's here that I want to talk about a young man called Alex Miller, who was a 24-year-old, very much a big part of this club, but sadly took his own life. But as a result of that, there's some really good work arising from that. And we know that suicide rates are highest among men in the northeast and the northwest, and it formed a big part of our piece. But I'm here to talk to Mark Boynes, because Mark, you were a friend of Alex. But as a result of what happened to him, you've set up this amazing thing. But first of all, tell me about Alex. What happened?
Well, we lost Alex in December 2012, and he had a history of mental illness. Yet nonetheless, particularly that type of death was something which just shocked the people around in the club, the wider cricketing community. So we certainly looked on that as something where we wanted to act to stop that happening in the future.
It must have been, I mean, it must have been absolutely devastating. I'm guessing he was a big part of the team here. It's a very tight-knit sport, cricket, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
What effect did it have on you and the guys when he...
Well, he was such a, as you say, such a big character, someone who trained harder than anyone else, looked forward to the Saturday more than anything. So that was quite a visible gap, as well as a vocal gap as well. And what that made people do more than anything, I think this happens a lot with bereavement by suicide, was just kept us asking questions of saying why, what could we have done, could we have done more, could we have spotted that? And those questions went round and around for days, weeks and months.
Now, you thought about it for a while and you eventually started something called Opening Up. Now, what's that? What does that aim to do?
Well, the aim is simply to promote mental well-being and suicide prevention through cricket. So we saw after Alex's death that the discussion about mental health, for good or for bad, and about suicide and how to prevent that was just completely lacking in our sport as well as society in general. So we thought we wanted to do something to remember a really great guy, yeah, but also proactively go out and speak to clubs to say that there are things you can look out for, ways you can support your teammates to ensure that this kind of thing doesn't happen.
And one of the things that I found sort of during the last 3 or 4 months of working on this story was there was two things I thought were at play. The first, I just found out that there was a serious lack of funding for people like you and anyone else who's trying to look at suicide prevention. But I also found a kind of northern macho attitude in the north, and I didn't buy into it at the beginning. But after speaking to a lot of guys about their particular problems, I sort of did get a sense of that. Do you think those two things are significant, the funding and this sense of being a northern bloke?
Yeah, well, the funding's a massive issue. My view is that it's consistently directed at a very reactive type of care for when people are in real crisis, rather than promoting things that are proactive, that can actually move away from suicide and the very bleak end of the spectrum towards promoting good mental health.
Well, do you think, let me ask you this question, because we're obviously short of time, but do you think that you should get official funding from government, from NHS, to support the work that you do?
Yeah, and it wouldn't need to be a lot to continue making a difference. I'd definitely say so.
But you don't at the moment, you don't get anything?
No.
We'll talk to you for throughout the day, okay, Mark, but we'll leave it there for now. Very interesting, isn't it? Suicide, biggest killer of men in Britain, biggest killer of men in the northeast and northwest, but yet small outfits like this receive absolutely no funding, and that's kind of what we've been seeing occurring over the last few years, that there are areas of great need, but funding's just not there. Steve, we'll talk later. Back to you.
OK, Nick, thank you. It is a complex issue, isn't it? I mean, the whole mental health issue, the northern male attitude, which Nick's saying does exist, but also there's the financial side of this as well. I'm joined by Anna Round, who's